Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, baby. And today we're going on an update over my my Gishki Imapcantation Hand Loop 2.0. So I've upgraded this deck, put my foot into it, and basically created this collegiate concoction just out of nothing, really. It started off as a completely different deck a long time ago, and I'm very proud to present to you guys this deck list. It's very, very competitive, it's very interactive, and it has this win condition going first where you just rip your opponent's hand like completely apart. And if you can't take every card out of their hand, you just end on disruptions that account for each card in their hand. For example, if you leave them with 2, you end on 2 disruptions. It's a really strong deck, and without further ado, let's hop into the list, and I'm going to show you the build. I am proxying one card, by the way, and it is Treacherous Trap Hole. So for the main deck, we are playing 3 copies of Gishki Zilgigas. Besides the level 6 monsters, which you do for your hand loop combo, Zilgigas is one of the power cards for going second if you lose the dice roll. This card easily breaks extra links. It's so easy for this deck to bait Trigate. It's not even funny. What this card does is it allows you you pay 1,000 life points. It allows you to draw a card. If that card is a Gishki, you can reveal it and shuffle 1 card from the field into the deck. It does not target and it does not destroy. And because it doesn't target, your opponent just has to guess or assume which card you're going to hit. More than often, you're going to be hitting a card that has arrows that have link monsters all pointing to it versus something that points to something else. That's how you break an extra link easily. For example, hitting a Trigate, like if you hit the monsters in column number 2 and 4, you'll have column number 5, column number 1, the upper columns in the extra monster zones pointing to nothing. So nothing's co-link, which pretty much means their whole board is feasible. It's very vulnerable. Zilgigas is such a powerful boss monster. It allows you to OTK excessively. You just pump 2 of these out, shuffle 2 cards, attack for 6,400, overlay for your rank 10, burn for 2k. That's the classic OTK. He's a combo extender as well, allowing you to draw the extra resources that you need. He's a really strong card. I absolutely play 3 of him. And I also play Mind August and Gustkraken. These cards are insanity. These are actually the first ever ritual monsters in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! To ever be hit on the ban list. It's insanity. Well, you know what? I think D-Mock got it first. Magician of Black Chaos. Or Magician of Black Illusion. I forget his name. It's like the Yugi's ace monster, the ritual. I think he got hit first. But you know what? These are the first relevant ritual monsters to ever get hit on the ban list. And for good reason. Mind August was just such a degenerate card, as well as Gustkraken being such a degenerate card. Both of these contribute to kind of infinite loops because they are not once per turn. And in their own deck, paired with the right cards, you can summon these cards so excessively, it's ridiculous how many times you can ritual summon in this deck. This card allows you to shuffle up to 5 cards from either player's graveyard to the deck, and it's mine or yours. You can actually abuse some of your opponent's strategies, like for example, Thunder Dragons. You summon this guy, shuffle all their Thunder Dragons from their grave to the deck. Then you can just kill their boss monster because he no longer has targets to banish to protect himself. That's just one example of many. There are graveyard strategies such as Burning Abyss. You just never know. And then we also have the Gustkraken, which is the hand looper. He allows you to look at up to 2 cards in your opponent's hand. So you can choose 2 or you can choose 1. I always choose 2. And between those 2 that you look at, you shuffle 1 from their hand to the deck. This effect is not once per turn, and you abuse this by summoning him excessively through the excessive amounts that you get, amounts of advantage that you procure through the incantations and through Zaborg, which allows you to effectively rape your opponent's hand to the bare minimum and end on at least a bare minimum of Traptrix Rafflesia with the Treacherous Trap Hole ready to send in your deck to pop 2 cards. And if you're lucky, you can even stronger, overlaying with Decode Talker on your field, having Traptrix Rafflesia and also Photon Strike Bouncer, which is 2 disruptions, which is still pretty powerful considering that you've already hand looped them. So those are your 5 ritual monsters, extremely focal to the deck. You can't really play without them. And then we have the best, the MVP, the starter card of the deck, is a Triple Zaborg. This card is better than Manju, it's better than Gishki Abyss, it's better than Shadow and Vision. This card is just insanity, bro. I mean, like, this card makes rituals great again. I explained this in my last video of Gishkis. I also explained to you guys how much I abused this in the past, back when I played Monarch Super Quantums with an extra deck. I was abusing this card with the Great Magnus. It's such an incredible card, and there's so many different things you can do with it. But ultimately, you normally get like at least a +3 out of this card. It's a +2 if you're going first, because this 1 card will net you 3 cards. But because it's 1 card that you pay for in your hand, you only get 2 extra cards, so it's a +2. But it's a +3 going second because you can just do so much more with it. In fact, you can even blow up fields, rape fields with this card. And if you've triggered your shadow and your vision from your hand because you discard them for cost to search, you can actually get a +4 off of this card instead of a +2 because you get the 3 searches off the Herald of the Arclight, and the 2 totally awesomes will grab your shadow and vision back from your grave to your hand. So you end up getting 5 fresh cards out of your hand back to your hand after you resolve Zaborg. Which is just 1 card. It's crazy. It's incredible. It's a really good card. You're actually able to resolve 2 Zaborgs if you draw 2 because of the new engine that I'm playing in this deck where you get the extra normal summon. And all you do is just use Mine August to put your Heralds of the Arclight back into your extra deck, put back your Totally Awesomes, and then you can literally just resolve Zaborg a second time in the same turn. And you've normally won at that point because your opponent has no more cards in their extra deck. Because he sends from both players' extra decks, and because you're always tributing the Imapcantation Candle, you get to look at your opponent's extra deck and you choose which cards you send. So they don't really have a choice in the matter. It's a really good card. Best card. Best card in the deck. It's the most explosive starter. Zaborg is MVP. Hashtag ban Zaborg, y'all. He's better than Firewall. We have triple Talismandra, triple Imapcantation Candle. So these are kind of part of your basic engine. To contribute to the consistency of the deck, I mean, in addition to the Zaborgs, you have the Imapcantations. We also have triple Gishki Shadow. Gishki Shadow is the searcher for your ritual spell. He also contributes to the entire tribute for a ritual summon of a water monster. I used to abuse this back in the day when I played Gishki Necros. We also have triple Vision. He's the searcher for your ritual monsters, and he is also the entire tribute for a ritual summon of a water monster. And if this was not enough searchers or starter cards, we also have triple Gishki Sharkbait. So what Abyss does on summon is he searches for any Gishki monster whose defense is 1,000 or less, which is pretty much all of these, including the Gustkraken and also the Zilgigas. So the only card that you can't search is Mine August. So he pretty much searches your whole deck, long story short. We also have one of Beautiful Princess. I only have one. That's the only reason I'm playing one. If I had another, I'd probably play 2 of it, so that way I can play a 1-for-1 and have that additional option for an extender. It's a really great card. It triggers your Abyss, because Abyss is not once per turn. In fact, there's not really anything. That's the crazy thing. There's nothing in this deck that's once per turn. In the Gishki archetype, like, the Imapcantations are once per turn, but I mean the Gishkis themselves, none of them are once per turn. That's what's so like retarded about this archetype in the playstyle, is that it's so redundant and abusive. And then I do play 1 Garnet and 1 Fairy Tale Snow. Instead of playing the what's his name, Clown Blade, I decided to play the Snow because this gives me a 3rd disruptor. So when I mentioned the Photon Strike Bouncer and the treacherous, what's her name, Traptrix Rafflesia, I forgot to mention that you'll have Snow under her as a material. So once you detach and send that trap hole that pops 2 cards on the field, you can still send activate Snow's effect to book one of your opponent's monsters, and you still have Photon Strike Bouncer to negate. So if you're not able to do your hand loop, you can still end on disruption. But the worst case scenario is you rip 3 cards out of your opponent's hand. They have 3 cards to play with, and you have 3 disruptions for their 3 cards in hand. So it makes it very, very difficult. It's like a detrimental impediment for any deck's playstyle. So we have the Garnet and the Snow. Even if you draw these, you can still put them back into your deck with Mine August. So it's totally fine even if they're as one-offs. And that will sum up the monster count, you guys. Now for our spells. The deck is really explosive, man. I'm telling you. It goes bananas, bro. We have triple Gishki Aqua Mirror. It's not once per turn. It is, in fact, I'm sorry. I mean, I love Heralds, but this is not. Donna the Herald is not better than this card. This card is redundant. What it does is, obviously, it ritual summons your Gishkis, but it does more than that. While it's in the grave, it can add a ritual monster, a Gishki ritual monster from your graveyard to your hand, and then put itself back into the deck. It recycles itself and gives you another resource. So the ideal playstyle with this deck is you want to tribute your ritual monsters to ritual summon. You want to tribute Mine August for Gustkraken and so on and so forth. Same thing with Zilgigas. You want to tribute a copy of himself for this. That way you can get maximum value out of this card and put it back into the deck so you can search it. Because you naturally search this 7 times in a turn. You resolve it anywhere between 8 and 10 times, depending on if you have the resources to keep doing so. But you naturally are able to resolve it a bare minimum of 7 times in 1 turn. I mean, Heralds are nice, but Heralds can't ritual summon 7 times in 1 turn. 3 copies of Brilliant Fusion. This is part of the engine that I was mentioning. That's why we play the Garnet and the Snow, because I want the additional normal summon. Because sometimes I have to use my normal summon on Abyss. I end up either drawing off of Zaborg, or it's like I have Zaborg in my hand, but I can't use him yet. So I'll use my normal summon for Abyss, get the search off of him, play Brilliant Fusion, get my Seraphinite out, get my Snow and my Garnet, and then I'll literally just tribute both of them, the Seraphinite and the Abyss, for Zaborg, and then trigger his effect. And that's only the worst case scenario if I don't have incantations. If I have incantations, I can just resolve those after I resolve the Brilliant Fusion, tribute those for Zaborg, and I'll go off of my combo from there. But the Brilliant Fusion doesn't just contribute to your consistency and your combos, being able to generate the Zaborg play. It also allows you to make a much more powerful board turn 1. You can go for your Skull Dread push, or what I typically like to do, I use this to make my Trap Tricks or Flasia. Because what I'll end up doing is I'll end up getting the Snow in the grave so I can abuse it, and I play another combo extender, which helps me to get the 2 level 4s on the field that I need. I play triple Instant Fusion. I decided to maximize on it because it also helps with your turn 1 boards. In addition to that, it's always an awkward situation when you have Zaborg in your hand, but you don't have an incantation and you don't have a Brilliant Fusion. It's like sometimes you just need to get extra monsters on the field in order to resolve Zaborg, because naturally when you resolve Zaborg, you've kind of fulfilled the win condition of the deck, and you're going to either take 4 cards out of your opponent's hand and pass, or you're going to take 3 cards out of their hand and you're going to build up a board after that. But in order to resolve Zaborg, you obviously need to tribute 2 monsters. So Instant Fusion also helps to get that second monster, because you can always Ritual Summon once, play your Instant Fusion, tribute both of them for Zaborg, and you've kind of just won the duel off the rip. It's like when you're playing Gym Knights and you resolve your Block Dragon. You've kind of just got all the resources that you need to do whatever you want. You don't even have to hand loop, but hand loop I felt was the most competitive way to play Gishkis right now in this current format. Because ripping cards out of your opponent's hand, no matter what deck they're playing, is always going to be, like I said, a detrimental impediment to any playstyle. So the triple Instant Fusion, absolutely hands down. My Instant Fusion target is the new Mud Swamp Dragon, which is incredible because of its ability to protect my field from being targeted. So Instant Fusion can it's even more versatile than I mentioned, because it can build your boards better, it can allow you to resolve Zaborg, and it can even allow you to play around Effect Veiler and Infinite Impermanence. You can just play this as your first card, and then continue going off with your combos. Your opponent cannot target your board pretty much, depending on what attribute you pick with your Swamp Dragon. Instant Fusion is just such a good card in this deck. And then we also have some engine-like cards. We have triple Preparation of Rites. I'm trying to get to Mind August and Gust Kraken as quickly as possible. If I can get one of them in my hand first, that is amazing, because then when I resolve my Zaborg, I can use the 3 searches of Herald of Arclight on 3 Aqua Mirrors, which is pretty much, that's it, that's all I need. And I can continue to just abuse Aqua Mirror, resummon, recycle it, and search it again. Preparation of Rites is so amazing. It's so broken. 2 copies of Marais of Greed. I decided to cut the card from 3 to 2 because I am playing a lot more monsters that are not water. So it's not ideal to play 3 because it can lead and contribute to situational and or bricky hands. So I found this perfect at 2. And any spell that you need to see in your deck, you can use Mind August to recycle anything. Even the Instant Fusion targets. You can put your Instant Fusions back into your main deck, and you can put the Mud Swamp Dragon back into your extra deck with Mind August. Mind August recycles any card, and it doesn't specify main deck. So you can recycle your extra deck, you can recycle your spell cards, your 1-ups. I've even recycled Treacherous Trap Hole in playtesting and Rafflesia just to do the whole combo again and hit more cards. It's just ridiculous. This deck is really insane. I play 2 salvages because I only have to. I would definitely play 3 because salvage is the best spell. In my opinion, there's no other spell in this lineup right now that can extend your plays as much as salvage does. Getting a salvage to fetch your shadow and your vision does so much more and progresses your game state in such a more advanced pace than any other card can do so. Not even Brilliant Fusion can do what Salvage does. Getting the extra Aqua Mirrors so that you can continue doing the hand loop is so important, because if you had a brick hand, Salvage will make your hand so much better, being that instead of only being able to rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, now you can rip 4. And that's a huge difference if your opponent's only playing with 2 cards. That's insanity. I do play a pair of Called by the Graves. because with the new build, it's very combo eccentric. I have a lot of starter cards, so I have a lot of bait for hand traps as well. But also, I have some cards that I need. I need to either have the effect resolve or I need a follow-up. But instead of like praying to God that I draw a hand with a follow-up or another extender, the Call by the Grave helps to alleviate that situation to where I know that my Green Fusion can now resolve and I've kind of just won the duel. Especially like when you have Instant Fusion plus Call by, it plays around everything because they can't impermanence you, they can't drill you, they can't Veiler you, they can't Ash you. They can't actually do anything. They just have to watch you play and rip the cards out of their hand. So Instant Fusion plus Call by pretty much plays through any hand trap in the game. There's nothing else, not even like Ghost Ogre because you can Call by the Ghost Ogre. So there's absolutely nothing that can stop you. And then the last card in the main deck is Treacherous Trap Hole. I don't own one, but what it says is if you have no traps in your grave, you can destroy 2 cards on the field, which is pretty broken. And as you can clearly see, it's the only trap I play in my deck. And what I like to do is just summon Rafflesia and use her effect to send this from my deck to the grave and activate its effect as her monster effect and destroy 2 of my opponent's cards on the field. Normally, just being able to pop 2, you have to think of that as the equivalent of Spiral Sleeper. Do you guys know how powerful Spiral Sleeper is? Being able to have an effect just like Spiral Sleeper, in addition to ripping cards out of your opponent's hand and still having a Photon Strike Bouncer, which can negate a monster effect and burn 1,000. That's just ridiculously good. Now for our extra deck, you guys. We play triple Herald of the Arc Light. This card is Insanity because it is not once returned. And this is the best fodder for your Zaborg play. You want to send 3 of this every single time. And for the situations when you are going second, the tease will help you to kind of just bust a board wide open. You can even build up your chain links to the point where you can't even Ash Blossom this and this. Like 2 of these are going to resolve if you do have a negate. But naturally, it's like there's no hand trap that can really stop this. Like, it's so good. Like, you build up your chain links. And if you have targets for your Toad, you can build up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 chain links. A chain link all the way to chain link 8. Your opponent can respond to 1, and 7 will resolve. 7 of them will resolve. That's insane, bro. Like, that's really good. You're getting so much advantage. You're climbing on top, bro. You are absolutely taking control of the tempo of the game. Everything's working in your favor once you've resolved your Zaborg. That is why I play 8 targets for Zaborg. And even though I only play these 8, you put them back into your extra deck and just continue abusing Zaborg because of Mind August. Mind August is an MVP for this deck because it fixes any problem that you might have when you're drawing your one-ups, when you run out of targets, when you run out of resources. It puts everything back into your deck so you can keep grinding. We have the Seraphonite for the Breeding Fusion. And like I said, the I call it a Mud Swamp Dragon. It's Mud Dragon of the Swamp. It's a really good card. Ability to change its attribute makes it even more feasible in... it makes it more applicable in the Invoked archetype or the Invoked strategy because of the fact that it can just become any attribute that you declare, so you can get the Invoke Fusion that you want. So I just feel that this card is just insane in so many different decks, and it's really good in this deck because it is a level 4. It can protect you from impermanence while it's there, and once you're done with it, once you've done your combo, you just overlay into Traptrix Rafflesia, and you've kind of just won the duel. We have 1 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon. It burns for 2,000 damage as part of your OTK. I do play Photon Strike Bouncer as the 1 rank 6. Once I get my Summon Sorcerers and Crystron Needle Fiber is legal, it's so easy for you to just go into Beatrice, dump Glowbulb, make your what's his name? What's that dude's name? Crystron Needle Fiber, and you can go into your Gumblar combo, and Gumblar can allow you to hand loop even if you don't have the hand loop. But right now the deck's so consistent without Gumblar, without Summon Sorcerers, without Needle Fiber, without Beatrice, like... Imagine when those cards come out, this deck's going to be that much more competitive. But for right now, my rank 6 option is Photon Strike Bouncer. Because like I told you guys, I'm trying to hand loop my opponent to the absolute maximum, but still end on a somewhat viable board. Because I've never actually hand looped 5 yet. I've hand looped 4, where my opponent had 1 card in hand, they drew for turn, and still ended on a good board. But unless my deck was, if my deck is able to hand loop 5, that would be the only... reason for not trying to end on anything, because like you don't have to summon anything imposing on your opponent if they don't have any cards in their hand. But because I'm not able to do that, I like ending on somewhat disruption. So I like the Photon Strike Bouncer. This Baguska is Traptrix Rafflesia. If you guys don't know what she is, she's a Traptrix rank 4 XYZ that requires 2 level 4 monsters. And during either player's turn, she's unaffected by traps, by the way. During either player's turn, she can detach a material, send 1 Traptrix trap card from your deck send one trap hole card from your deck to your grave and apply that trap as her monster effect. Treacherous Trap Hole is the target I'm using for her. And then we have Scoldred and also Decode Talker. Most frequently gone into is Scoldred, but I also like Decode because it even puts another form of disruption because it gives me targeting protection. You have Rafflesia and you have Strike Bouncer. You have a lot going for yourself. Like you have protection from targeting, you have the 2-pops, you have the negation, and you still have snow in your grave. And if I'm seeing like the snow is really that important, I will banish cards from my field, like the Brilliant Fusion and the extra fodder that I got in my grave. Even heck, I'll banish the what's her name? The Rafflesia after I've used her just to resolve the snow to make sure that my opponent cannot play the Yu-Gi-Oh! So that pretty much concludes the deck profile. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your honest opinion and feedback is in the comment section below. I'm very excited to hear you guys' thought and your feedback. And if there's any suggestions that you have for the deck, I'm more than willing and more than happy to hear them. But also keep in mind, the way I built the deck is the way I want it to be. So I'm not going to change it, but I will hear you out. Don't get me wrong. Thank you guys so much. God bless you. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. And stay tuned for future content because I've got a lot more spicy deck lists coming for you. Me and Cool Cuz got some fun duels, and I'm going to upload those once I get off work because I'm about to go out to work in like half an hour. But that's all I have for today, you guys. Peace.